If I could go back in time and tell my past self just one thing about depression, what would it be? Today, I want to share a deeply personal journey, my battle with depression and the things I wish I had known sooner. As a psychologist and mental health expert with over 20 years of experience, I have studied, treated, and personally experienced depression. My goal is to help others understand that they are not alone and that there is hope. Before we dive in, if this video resonates with you, make sure to like, comment, and share so that more people can find hope and encouragement. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to join our supportive community. I've had my fair share of depression, and it has been a long, arduous journey. The weight of it is something that is hard to describe unless you've felt it yourself. It's like a dark cloud that follows you everywhere, casting a shadow over every aspect of your life. You wake up with it, you go to bed with it, and it haunts your dreams. It's a relentless, invisible force that saps your energy, your joy, and your will to keep going. And I am deeply grateful to have survived that phase. There were days when I thought I wouldn't make it, when the pain was so overwhelming that it felt like it would swallow me whole. But here I am, standing on the other side of it, stronger and more resilient. It's a testament to the human spirit's incredible capacity to endure and overcome. You too can overcome it. It may not seem possible right now, but there is hope. There is always hope. It's important to remember that you are not alone in this struggle. There are people who care about you, who want to help you, and who will stand by you through the darkest times. Reach out to them, lean on them, and let them be your support system. I have had some experiences in certain phases of my life that brought me face to face to depression. My third and last experience was very devastating. The details of it will be shared explicitly in my next video. Today in this video, I will take you through the first two defining experiences in my life that plunged me into the depths of despair. These moments were pivotal in shaping who I am today, and they taught me valuable lessons about resilience, strength, and the importance of seeking help. The first was when I lost my beloved mother at the tender age of 12. She was my rock, my confidant, and my biggest supporter. Losing her was like losing a part of myself. The grief was unbearable, and I felt like my world had come crashing down, my world shattered. I remember the day vividly, the way the air felt heavy with sorrow, the way my heart ached with a pain I had never known before. It was a loss that left a gaping hole in my heart, one that I didn't know how to fill. Though I still had my father and siblings, especially my elder sister who provided comfort and support, the void left by my mother's absence was immeasurable. My sister tried her best to fill the role of a mother, but it was an impossible task. The bond I had with my mother was unique, and no one could replace her. Nothing could replace the warmth, love, and reassurance of a doting mother. Her hugs, her words of encouragement, her presence, they were all irreplaceable. I found myself clinging to memories, to photographs, to anything that reminded me of her, but memories fade, and photographs can't capture the essence of a person. No amount of care or affection could truly fill that emptiness, and the weight of that loss stayed with me for years. It was a burden I carried into my teenage years, a constant reminder of what I had lost. It affected my relationships, my self-esteem, and my outlook on life. The pain and heaviness of that loss stayed with me for years. It was a shadow that loomed over me, influencing my every decision and action. I struggled to find joy in the things I once loved, and I felt disconnected from the world around me. It was as if a part of me had died along with my mother. The second experience came after my high school education, when I faced relentless academic disappointment. I had always been a diligent student, pouring my heart and soul into my studies. I had dreams and aspirations, and I believed that education was the key to achieving them. Despite being a bright student, one whom others frequently sought for academic help, I struggled to gain admission into a tertiary institution. It was a blow to my confidence and my sense of self-worth. I began to question my abilities and my future. Year after year, for 5 years, I sat for entrance exams which took place once annually, and as always I would face rejection. Each rejection letter felt like a personal failure, a confirmation that I wasn't good enough. The disappointment was crushing, and it took a toll on my mental health. It wasn't a matter of intelligence or effort. It was as if an unseen force was holding me back. I couldn't understand why I was facing so many obstacles, why my hard work wasn't paying off. It felt like the universe was conspiring against me. Meanwhile, friends and peers, some of whom had once relied on me for academic assistance, gained admission with ease and pursued prestigious courses. I watched as they moved forward with their lives, achieving their goals and celebrating their successes. It was a constant reminder of my own perceived failures. The most painful moment came when they started graduating while I was still stuck at square one. Seeing their graduation photos, hearing about their accomplishments, it was like salt in an open wound. I felt left behind, like I was missing out on life. The shame, confusion, and hopelessness weighed heavily on me. I felt like I was trapped in a never-ending cycle of disappointment and despair. I began to isolate myself, withdrawing from friends and family. I didn't want them to see how much I was struggling. What was wrong with me? I asked myself this question over and over again. I couldn't understand why I was facing so many challenges, why I couldn't seem to catch a break. It felt like I was cursed, destined to fail no matter how hard I tried. Why couldn't I move forward? It was a question that haunted me day and night. I felt stuck, like I was treading water and getting nowhere. The frustration and helplessness were overwhelming. These unanswered questions pushed me into a deep depression, making me feel like a failure and an outcast. I felt disconnected from the world, from my dreams, and from myself. It was a dark and lonely place, but it was also a turning point. It forced me to confront my pain, to seek help, and to find a way to heal. And in doing so, I discovered a strength within me that I never knew I had. Eventually, I gained admission after my 5th attempt. It was a long and arduous journey, filled with countless sleepless nights and moments of self-doubt. This milestone should have been a moment of triumph, a time to celebrate perseverance and resilience. But instead, my emotions were mixed, a blend of joy and sadness, with the latter overshadowing everything else. I adopted what we call emotional masking in psychology to flow with the atmosphere of utmost conviviality. I needed to pretend to be happy. But, unbeknown to my friends and family, greater part of me feels dejected. But on their part, they were ecstatic, showering me with congratulations and words of encouragement. They saw it as the culmination of years of hard work and determination, a time to celebrate perseverance and resilience. But deep down I felt a void, an emptiness that no amount of celebration could fill. The joy that everyone expected me to feel was overshadowed by a lingering sense of sadness and uncertainty. But instead, my emotions were beclouded with a blend of joy and sadness, with the latter eclipsing everything else. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was missing, that despite my achievement, I was still incomplete. I had fought so hard to gain admission, primarily to honor my parents' dreams. They had sacrificed so much for me, and I wanted to make them proud. My late mother, in particular, had always wished for me to be highly educated. She believed that education was the key to a better life, a way to break free from the cycle of poverty and hardship that had plagued our family for generations. My late parents, particularly my mother, never had the opportunity to receive a proper education. As a result of not being able to fulfill their academic aspirations, they placed great importance on ensuring I received the education they were unable to pursue because of my love for education. My mother never had that opportunity herself, and of all her children, she had pinned that dream on me. Her dreams became my dreams, and I carried the weight of her expectations on my shoulders. Every step I took, every decision I made, was guided by the desire to fulfill her wishes. I felt duty-bound to make her proud, and when I finally secured a place at the university, I thought I had done just that. I imagined her smiling down on me, her spirit filled with pride and joy. But as I walked through the university gates, a sense of unease began to creep in. But life had one more cruel twist in store for me. I was admitted to study French, a language I knew, appreciated, but never wanted as my primary course of study. It felt like a cruel joke, a twist of fate that left me questioning everything. I had always envisioned studying French as an auxiliary course, something to complement my main field of study. But right there, it became the foundation of my academic journey, and I felt trapped. The realization that I would have to build my career around something I had never truly desired filled me with immense sadness. It was as if all my efforts had been in vain, and I was left to navigate a path I had never chosen. The awareness that I would have to shape my life around what I never bargained enveloped me with sadness, especially having wasted 5 years of my youthful age seeking admission into a university. To make things worse, all my peers had moved on. They had graduated, secured jobs, and were advancing in life. I was left behind, struggling with feelings of inadequacy, frustration, and self-doubt. All my peers had started living the dreams we had all talked about, while I was stuck in a place I didn't want to be. The sense of isolation was overwhelming. I was left behind, struggling with feelings of inadequacy, frustration, and self-doubt. My joy was short-lived, replaced by an overwhelming sense of failure. I began to question my worth, my abilities, and my purpose. The dreams I once had seemed distant and unattainable. Securing a place in the university didn't ameliorate my situation. A huge sense of rejection and failure resides within me. I began losing focus, my mind clouded with thoughts of self-pity. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of despair, unable to find a way out. Nothing in life seemed to interest me anymore. The passion and drive that had once fueled me were gone, replaced by a sense of hopelessness. I doubted my worth, my abilities, and my purpose. I felt like a failure, unable to live up to the expectations of those who believed in me. The weight of their disappointment was crushing and I couldn't see a way out. Nothing in life seemed to interest me anymore. Depression took a firm grip on me, making me feel as though I was drowning in an endless sea of despair. Every day was a struggle, and I felt like I was losing the battle. As I was sinking in depression, I began to feel as though I was drowning in an endless sea of despair. I felt isolated, disconnected from the world around me. The dreams I once had seemed like a mirage, a distant memories, and I couldn't see a way forward. But even in my darkest moments, a small part of me held on to hope, believing that somehow I would find a way to overcome the challenges and find my path. Following these two harrowing experiences, I encountered a profound ordeal that not only plunged me into the depths of depression, but also brought me perilously close to suicide. This ordeal manifested as a relentless triad of cruelty, deception, and destruction, intertwined so seamlessly that escape seemed impossible. During this dark period, it felt as though a trifecta of malevolence had descended upon me, each malicious act fueling the next, creating an unending storm of despair. The details of this experience will be shared in my next video. Do well to subscribe to get notified when I drop the video. As my world crumbled, I felt my sanity slipping away. At that moment, I realized I couldn't do this alone. It was then that I recognized the desperate need for help, confiding in trusted family members who recommended therapy as a path toward healing. I started therapy, which was both terrifying and liberating. At first I thought seeking help meant I was weak, but in reality it was the strongest thing I had ever done. Therapeutic insight Dr. Carl Rogers, a pioneer in humanistic psychology, emphasized unconditional positive regard. The idea that feeling accepted and understood by another person is essential for healing. What I wish I knew. Asking for help doesn't mean you're weak. It means you value yourself enough to fight for your well-being. Recovery wasn't instant, but I found methods that worked. It was a journey filled with ups and downs, moments of clarity and times of confusion. I want to share with you the strategies that made a significant difference in my life, hoping they might help you or someone you know. Remember, everyone's path is unique, but there are common threads that can guide us through the darkness. Some of the key strategies included cognitive behavioral therapy, learning to challenge negative thoughts. This form of therapy, often referred to as CBT, was a game changer for me. It taught me how to identify and reframe the negative thought patterns that were fueling my depression. By working with a skilled therapist, I learned techniques to question the validity of my thoughts and replace them with more balanced and constructive ones. This process wasn't easy and required consistent effort, but over time it helped me build a more resilient mindset. Mindfulness and meditation. Inspired by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn's work, I practiced being present, which helped break cycles of rumination. Mindfulness taught me to focus on the present moment, rather than getting lost in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. Meditation became a daily practice, a sanctuary where I could find peace amidst the chaos. It wasn't about emptying my mind, but rather observing my thoughts without judgment. This practice helped me develop a sense of inner calm and clarity, which was crucial in managing my depressive symptoms. Exercise and diet studies by Dr. Michael Otto show that physical activity significantly reduces depressive symptoms. Incorporating regular exercise into my routine was transformative. Whether it was jogging in the park, practicing yoga, or simply taking a brisk walk, moving my body helped release endorphins, the body's natural mood lifters. Alongside exercise, I paid close attention to my diet. Eating nutritious foods rich in vitamins and minerals provided the energy and mental clarity I needed to face each day. It was about creating a balanced lifestyle that supported my overall well-being. Journaling and self-reflection. Writing helped me process emotions and track progress. Keeping a journal became a therapeutic outlet where I could express my thoughts and feelings freely. It allowed me to reflect on my experiences, recognize patterns, and celebrate small victories. Over time, my journal became a record of my journey, a testament to my resilience and growth. It was a space where I could be honest with myself, confront my fears, and find clarity in my thoughts. Community and connection, finding support groups, and engaging in honest conversations with trusted friends. Building a support network was essential. I joined support groups where I could share my experiences with others who understood what I was going through. These connections provided a sense of belonging and reminded me that I wasn't alone. Additionally, opening up to trusted friends and family members helped strengthen my relationships and provided emotional support during difficult times. It was through these connections that I found hope and encouragement to keep moving forward. What I wish I knew. Healing isn't linear, progress is messy, and that's okay. One of the most important lessons I learned was that recovery is not a straight path. There were setbacks and moments of doubt, but each step, no matter how small, was a step towards healing. Embracing the messiness of the journey allowed me to be kinder to myself and recognize that progress can come in many forms. It's okay to have bad days. They don't erase the progress you've made. What matters is the willingness to keep going, to keep trying, and to believe in the possibility of a better tomorrow. You will have setbacks, but that doesn't mean you're failing. Setbacks are a natural part of the healing process. They are not a sign of failure, but rather an opportunity to learn and grow. Each time I faced a setback, I tried to understand what triggered it and how I could better manage similar situations in the future. It was about building resilience and learning to navigate the challenges with a compassionate and patient mindset. Remember, it's not about never falling, it's about getting back up each time you do. One more thing, if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Your engagement helps us reach more people who might benefit from this content. Sharing your experiences and insights can create a ripple effect, offering support and encouragement to others who are on their own journey. Let's build a community where we can learn from each other and grow together. Watch out for my next video where I will be sharing my most devastating experience, how, in quick succession, my world turned into a nightmare. My qualifications were a lie, the woman I loved pledged herself to another man, and the friend I trusted stole everything I had. It wasn't just misfortune, it was a perfect storm of treachery, leaving me standing in the wreckage of my own life. Let's create a supportive space where we can uplift each other. By fostering a sense of community, we can break the stigma surrounding mental health and create an environment where everyone feels safe to share their stories. Together, we can make a difference and support each other in our journeys towards healing and personal growth. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos on mental health, personal growth, and healing. Subscribing ensures that you stay connected with our community and receive updates on new content that can provide valuable insights and support. We are committed to bringing you resources and stories that inspire and empower you on your journey. Together, we can break the stigma and build a stronger community. By sharing our experiences and supporting one another, we can create a world where mental health is prioritized and everyone feels understood and valued. Let's continue to raise awareness, advocate for change, and support each other in meaningful ways. See you in the next video. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Your presence and support mean the world to us. Until next time, take care and remember that you are not alone.
I never thought I would tell this story, not because I was afraid, but because some wounds run so deep, you wonder if they will ever truly heal. After sharing my last video about my battle with depression, many of you reached out. Some of you saw yourselves in my pain. Some of you are still fighting your own battles. I heard your voices, and today I want to go deeper into a time when I was completely lost, when the dreams I had held onto for so long shattered before my eyes. This is a story about despair, but it's also a story about redemption. For 5 years, I chased a dream that never wanted me back. Every year, I applied for university admission. Every year, rejection met me like an old friend. I remember sitting at home watching as my friends packed their bags and moved on with their lives. They were becoming doctors, engineers, accountants. Meanwhile, I was stuck in a cycle of failure, drowning in frustration and self-doubt. Then on my 5th attempt, I finally got accepted, but not into the course I'd spent years dreaming about, not into a field I had fought so hard for. No, the university gave me French. French? I had nothing against the language. I admired it. But this was not my dream. I was exhausted, broken, and out of options. My mother, God bless her soul, always believed in education, and I couldn't disappoint her. So I swallowed my disappointment and enrolled. But deep inside, something was dying. I should have felt proud the day I graduated. I should have felt accomplished. Instead, I felt nothing. There was no joy, no fulfillment, only an unbearable emptiness. I had a degree, but no direction. I had knowledge, but no purpose. It felt like all those years had been wasted on a future I never wanted. I withdrew from everything. I avoided friends. I avoided conversations. I avoided life. Then I thought, maybe more education will fix this. I told myself that if I could just find the right path, I could reclaim my life. That's when I stumbled upon Pilgrim's University in Burlington, North Carolina, and Concepts University in London. Back then, researching universities wasn't as easy as it is now. I found these institutions and everything seemed legitimate. Their representatives spoke well, their websites looked professional, and they promised me exactly what I wanted, a second chance. So I enrolled, not just in one master's program, but two, an MBA and a master's in project management. I worked brutal shifts in a freezing cold storage facility just to pay for them, but I didn't care. I believed it was all worth it. Then I took it a step further. I enrolled in a PhD program in business management. The university required a local professor as a supervisor. It cost me a fortune, but I was willing to pay the price. And then one day I found out the truth. My degrees were worthless. The institutions were fake. Pilgrim's University, Concepts University, they never existed. They were elaborate scams, degree mills designed to prey on hopeful minds like mine. Everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed for had amounted to nothing. I collapsed into despair. If that pain wasn't enough, life had one more betrayal waiting for me. A close friend, someone I'd trusted, took advantage of my desperation. He offered me a business opportunity, promising that this was my way out of the mess I was in. I gave him everything, my last savings, my last hope, and then he disappeared. Broke, alone, betrayed. And just when I thought I had nothing left to lose, I found out the woman I had loved for years, the woman who had stood beside me through it all, was preparing to marry someone else. It was too much. The pain was unbearable. For the first time in my life, I genuinely questioned whether I wanted to go on living. I don't know how I survived those days, but I do know this. I didn't do it alone. Therapy saved my life. At my lowest point, I was fortunate to receive professional help. I sat in a room where for the first time someone listened. Someone saw me, not as a failure, not as a man who had lost everything, but as a human being worthy of redemption. It wasn't easy. Healing was slow. The scars of betrayal and disappointment don't fade overnight. But my family, my true friends, they refused to let me sink. They reminded me that my worth wasn't tied to a piece of paper, that my failures did not define me, that I was more than my broken dreams. And slowly, I began to believe them. This chapter of my life was meant to break me. Instead, it shaped me. It took everything from me, but it gave me something greater. The will to rebuild, the courage to start again, and the strength to rise. To anyone out there who feels lost, who feels like the world has turned its back on you, I see you, I hear you. And I promise you, this is not the end. If you found hope in this story, if you believe in second chances, I invite you to be part of this journey. Like this video, share your story in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe, because together we will rise again. Scene end.
Hey everyone! Today, I want to share something deeply personal with you. I want to talk about my journey with depression. This isn't easy to talk about, but it's important. It all started so subtly. I felt a sadness lingering at the edges of my thoughts. It was a feeling of hopelessness that I couldn't shake. I found myself withdrawing. Things I used to love, I didn't want to do anymore. Friends and family reached out, but I pushed them away. The world seemed to lose its vibrancy. Everything looked gray and dull. This wasn't just a bad day, this was different. This feeling, this darkness, it wasn't entirely unfamiliar. I'd felt glimpses of it before, but this time, it was different. This time, it took hold and wouldn't let go. I tried to ignore it at first. I told myself it was just stress, but it didn't pass. It got worse. I was trapped in a downward spiral. I was falling deeper into a dark pit. I felt utterly alone, even when surrounded by people. This wasn't just a rough patch. This was clinical depression. It was a terrifying realization. Depression. The word itself felt heavy, like a diagnosis. And in a way, it was. It was the beginning of understanding my struggle. Depression is insidious. It creeps up on you, slowly constricting your world until you can barely breathe. My world, once full of color and possibility, began to shrink. Simple pleasures lost their appeal. Music, once a source of joy, became just noise. Conversations felt meaningless, and I retreated further into myself. I was a ghost haunting my own life. My body was there, but my mind was a million miles away. A thick fog of despair settled over me, obscuring everything. Colors seemed muted, joy felt distant, and hope felt like a cruel illusion. Sleep, once a refuge, became my tormentor. Insomnia took hold, its grip tightening with each passing night. My mind, unable to find rest, would race with anxieties, regrets, and fears. Exhaustion became my constant companion. Simple tasks, once effortless, became monumental challenges. Getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. I was adrift in a sea of apathy. The feeling of emptiness was profound. It was a void that seemed to consume me from the inside out. I was a hollow shell, devoid of the energy and enthusiasm that had once defined me. Guilt and worthlessness became my constant companions. I berated myself for my inability to shake this darkness. This wasn't sadness as I'd known it before. This was a profound, soul-crushing despair. Life had become a battlefield. Every morning, I woke up to a war raging within me. The simplest tasks felt insurmountable. Just getting out of bed was a Herculean effort. My mind, once a source of creativity and joy, had become a torture chamber. It was a relentless cycle of negative thoughts, self-doubt, and despair. The world outside continued, oblivious to my internal struggle. People went about their lives, laughing, loving, achieving. I envied their lightness, their ease. Insomnia tightened its grip. Sleep, once a sanctuary, became my tormentor. Night after night I lay awake, my mind racing with anxieties and regrets. The darkness amplified my fears, making them seem insurmountable. Exhaustion became my new normal. I was trapped in a vicious cycle. Lack of sleep fueled my depression, and the deepening depression made sleep even more elusive. It was a cruel and exhausting game. The days blurred together in a monotonous haze. I went through the motions of living, but I wasn't truly present. Guilt and worthlessness became my constant companions. I was consumed by the belief that I was fundamentally flawed, a burden to myself and everyone around me. The love and support of my friends and family felt like a constant reminder of my own perceived failures. I withdrew further into myself, isolating myself from the very people who could offer solace. I convinced myself that I didn't deserve their love. The weight of it all was crushing. This was not living. This was merely existing. Seeking help felt like an insurmountable hurdle. The stigma surrounding mental health loomed large. It whispered in my ear, telling me I should be stronger, that I should be able to handle this on my own. It told me that seeking help was a sign of weakness. I was ashamed of my struggle. I didn't want to burden others with my problems. So, I suffered in silence, hoping that somehow I could just will myself better. But the harder I tried to fight it alone, the deeper I sank. The weight of my secret grew heavier with each passing day. One day, a glimmer of hope appeared. I stumbled across a story online. It was someone sharing their own experience with depression. Reading their words, I felt a flicker of recognition. For the first time, I didn't feel so alone. Their honesty, their vulnerability gave me a sliver of courage. If they could ask for help, maybe I could too. That night, I finally confessed my struggle to a close friend. My friend listened with empathy and understanding. They encouraged me to seek professional help. Taking that first step was the hardest. Picking up the phone to schedule a therapy appointment felt like lifting 1,000 pounds, but I did it. And with each subsequent appointment, the weight on my chest felt a little lighter. My therapist was a beacon of light in the darkness. She listened without judgment, creating a safe space for me to unravel the tangled threads of my mind. She helped me understand that depression wasn't my fault, that it was a real illness. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. It gave a name to the darkness that had consumed me for so long. It meant that there was a path to healing. Therapy became my lifeline. It was a safe haven where I could finally shed the mask I'd been wearing for so long. Week after week, I sat across from my therapist, pouring out the pain and confusion that had been festering inside me. It wasn't easy at first. Talking about my deepest fears and insecurities felt incredibly vulnerable. But my therapist created a space of non-judgmental acceptance. She listened with empathy and understanding. Through therapy, I began to understand the mechanics of my own mind. CBT provided me with practical tools to challenge the darkness that had taken root in my mind. I learned to identify the negative thought patterns that were fueling my depression. These thoughts, often automatic and insidious, had become so ingrained that I'd accepted them as truths. With my therapist's guidance, I started to question these thoughts. Were they really true? Was there another way of looking at the situation? By learning to recognize and reframe these distortions, I began to chip away at the foundation of my depression. Medication was another crucial piece of my recovery puzzle. My doctor prescribed antidepressants, explaining that they could help correct the chemical imbalances in my brain that were contributing to my depression. It wasn't a magic cure, but it did provide a much-needed lift. The medication, combined with therapy, began to gently lift the fog that had settled over my world. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but I started to notice subtle shifts. My sleep improved slightly, I had a little more energy, and most importantly, I started to feel glimmers of hope again. These glimmers were small at first, like tiny sparks in the vast darkness, but I clung to them fiercely. A beautiful sunset, a shared laugh with a friend. These small joys, once lost to me, began to seep back into my life. As I emerged from the depths of depression, I realized something profound. I couldn't just go back to living the way I had before. Something had to change. That change, I discovered, started with me. I needed to prioritize my own well-being, to practice self-care in a way I never had before. It began with small acts of kindness towards myself, a long, hot bath at the end of a tiring day, a walk in nature, feeling the sun on my face and the wind in my hair, nourishing my body with healthy food. These small acts, once overlooked, became essential rituals. I discovered the power of mindfulness. Meditation, once a foreign concept, became a daily practice. Isolation had been my constant companion during the darkest days of my depression. I had withdrawn from relationships, convinced that I was too broken, too much of a burden to those who loved me. But as I healed, I realized the profound power of connection. It was terrifying at first, to let people in, to show them the scars I'd tried so hard to hide. But vulnerability, I discovered, was not weakness. It was courage. It was the key to unlocking deeper, more meaningful relationships. I began to open up to my loved ones, sharing my struggles with honesty and vulnerability. To my surprise, I was met with nothing but love, support, and understanding. They hadn't abandoned me in my darkness. They'd been waiting patiently for me to let them back in. Reconnecting with loved ones was like breathing fresh air after being trapped in a stuffy room. Laughter, once a distant memory, became a regular part of my life again. My journey through depression has been the most challenging experience of my life. It's been a long and arduous climb out of a deep, dark hole. But through it all, I've discovered a strength I never knew I possessed. It's a strength that comes from facing your demons head-on, from acknowledging your vulnerabilities, and from allowing yourself to be vulnerable with others. There's a common misconception that vulnerability is weakness. We're often taught to hide our struggles, to put on a brave face, and to pretend that everything is okay. But in reality, vulnerability is where true strength lies. It takes courage to admit when you're hurting, to ask for help, and to let others see your scars. Through my own journey, I've learned that vulnerability is not something to be ashamed of. It's a natural part of the human experience. It's what connects us, what allows us to empathize with one another, and what ultimately makes us stronger. By embracing my own vulnerability, I've been able to forge deeper connections with others, to offer and receive support, and to grow in ways I never thought possible. Depression has a way of distorting your perspective. It paints the world in shades of gray, making it difficult to see the beauty that still exists. But as I began to heal, I started to see the world through new eyes. It was as if someone had slowly turned up the saturation dial, revealing the vibrant colors I'd forgotten were there. I started to appreciate the small things again, the warmth of the sun on my skin, the sound of laughter filling a room, the simple pleasure of a good cup of coffee. These small joys, once lost in the fog of depression, took on a new significance. They became reminders that even in the darkest of times, there is still beauty to be found in the world. My experience also gave me a deeper sense of empathy and compassion for others. I learned that everyone is fighting their own battles, some visible, others hidden beneath the surface. This understanding made me more patient, more forgiving, and more willing to extend grace to others and to myself. For a long time, I couldn't see any purpose in my pain. Depression felt like a heavy weight, dragging me down and holding me back from living a full and meaningful life. But as I began to heal, I realized that my experience, however painful, had given me a unique perspective and a story to tell. I became passionate about mental health advocacy. I wanted to use my voice to break down the stigma surrounding mental illness, to let others know that they're not alone, and to encourage them to seek help. I started sharing my story, first with close friends and family, then online, and eventually at public speaking events. Each time I shared my story, I felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment. I realized that by being open and honest about my struggles, I could potentially help others who were going through similar experiences. Transforming my pain into purpose became a powerful form of healing, a way to reclaim my narrative and to use my experience to make a positive impact on the world. My journey through depression has been anything but easy. It's been a long, arduous climb out of a deep, dark well. There were times when I didn't think I'd ever see the light of day again, times when giving up felt like the only option. But somehow, I found the strength to keep going. I clung to hope, even when it felt like a distant flicker. I sought help, even when shame and stigma whispered that I should suffer in silence. And slowly, painstakingly, I began to heal. Therapy, medication, self-care, the support of loved ones, these were the lifelines that pulled me back from the brink. It wasn't a linear journey. There were setbacks, moments of despair, days when even getting out of bed felt impossible. But with each challenge, I learned something new about myself. I discovered a resilience I never knew I possessed, a strength that came from facing my demons head-on. I learned that it's okay to not be okay, that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to our humanity. I learned that vulnerability, far from being something to fear, is actually the key to forging deeper connections and experiencing true belonging. If you're listening to this and you're struggling with depression, please know that you are not alone. You are not broken or flawed. You are worthy of love, support, and healing. It can feel incredibly isolating to be trapped in the darkness of depression, but there is hope. There are people who understand, people who have been there, and people who want to help. Reaching out for help is the bravest thing you can do. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, therapist, or doctor. There are resources available to support you on your journey to recovery. Don't be afraid to seek them out. Remember, you deserve to heal. You deserve to live a life filled with joy, purpose, and meaning. It's okay to take things one day at a time. Celebrate the small victories. Practice self-compassion. And never give up hope. Healing is possible. You are stronger than you think. Depression taught me that darkness doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning of a new chapter, an opportunity for growth, transformation, and self-discovery. It's in the depths of our despair that we often find our greatest strength, our deepest empathy, and our most profound capacity for love and connection. While I wouldn't wish the experience of depression on anyone, I'm grateful for the lessons it's taught me. It's shown me the importance of self-care, the power of vulnerability, and the transformative power of human connection. It's led me to a deeper understanding of myself, my values, and my purpose in life. My journey through depression has been a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. It's a hope that I carry with me every day, a hope that I share with anyone who is struggling, a hope that reminds us that we are not alone, and that together we can find light in the darkness. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Let's create a supportive space where we can uplift each other. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos on mental health, personal growth, and healing. Together, we can break the stigma and build a stronger community. See you in the next video.
Welcome back, everyone. It's good to be here with you all again. As you know, this channel is all about sharing stories, finding hope, and lifting each other up. In our last video, I opened up about something deeply personal, my own struggles with depression. It was tough to share, but the response was incredible. So many of you reached out, sharing your own stories and offering support. It made me realize just how important it is to talk about these things, to break the silence and let each other know we're not alone. That's why I wanted to continue the conversation today. In this video, we're going deeper into my journey. We're talking about what it took to break free from depression and find my way back to happiness. It wasn't easy, but let me tell you, it was so worth it. This isn't just about recovering from a dark place, it's about rediscovering the light within. It's about finding hope when you feel hopeless, strength when you feel weak, and joy when you feel lost. It's about realizing that even in the darkest of times there's always a way forward. So if you're ready to embark on this journey with me, buckle up. We're about to dive into the heart of healing, the power of resilience, and the incredible beauty of finding yourself again. Let's do this. For years I felt lost in a fog of despair. Depression had its grip on me, whispering lies that I was worthless, that things would never get better. It was like carrying a weight on my shoulders, one that grew heavier with each passing day. The loss of my mother, the constant pressure to succeed, the fear of failure. It all became too much to bear. I tried to push through it, to pretend everything was okay. But the truth was, I was falling apart inside. I isolated myself from friends and family, convinced that I was burdening them with my problems. I put on a brave face for the world, but behind closed doors I was crumbling. Then one day, everything changed. I hit rock bottom. I realized I couldn't keep living like this, trapped in a cycle of pain and despair. I needed help, and I needed it desperately. That realization, as terrifying as it was, turned out to be the turning point in my journey. It was the moment I finally admitted to myself that I couldn't do this alone. It was the moment I decided to fight for my life. Admitting I needed help was the first step, but it was only the beginning. I knew I had a long road ahead of me, but I was determined to heal. I was determined to find my way back to the light. The next step was finding the right support. For me, that meant seeking professional help. Therapy provided a safe space for me to unpack my emotions, to confront my demons, and to start rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy to open up, to be vulnerable with a stranger. But my therapist wasn't a stranger for long. She became a guide, a mentor, a beacon of hope in my darkest hours. She helped me understand that my thoughts weren't facts, that my feelings were valid, and that I had the power to change my story. With her guidance, I began to challenge the negative beliefs that were holding me back. I started to see myself not as a failure, but as a survivor. I learned that my past didn't define my future, and that I had the strength within me to create a life filled with joy, purpose, and meaning. Admitting I needed help felt like admitting defeat, like I had failed some invisible test of strength. I'd always prided myself on being independent, on handling my problems on my own. Asking for help felt like a sign of weakness, a betrayal of the person I thought I was supposed to be. So I stayed silent. I carried the weight of my depression alone, afraid to share my burden with anyone. I told myself that others wouldn't understand, that they had their own problems to deal with. I was afraid of judgment, of pity, of being seen as broken. But the weight of silence was suffocating. The more I tried to hide my pain, the heavier it became. It seeped into every aspect of my life, poisoning my relationships, stealing my joy, and extinguishing my hope. The truth is, silence doesn't make us strong. It isolates us, it suffocates us, it keeps us trapped in our pain. Breaking free from depression meant breaking free from the silence that had held me captive for so long. It was time to find my voice. Finding my voice wasn't easy. It started with a whisper, a hesitant plea for help in the darkness. I reached out to a trusted friend, someone I knew would listen without judgment. Sharing my story with her, even just a piece of it, felt like lifting 1,000 pounds off my chest. Her response surprised me. It wasn't pity or judgment I saw in her eyes, but understanding. She shared her own struggles, reminding me that I wasn't alone in my pain. She didn't try to fix me or offer unsolicited advice. She simply listened with an open heart and a compassionate ear. That conversation was a turning point. It gave me the courage to open up to others, to seek professional help, to finally start talking about what I had been carrying in silence for so long. Finding my voice wasn't about shouting from the rooftops, it was about whispering my truth to those who cared, to those who could offer support and understanding. It was about acknowledging my pain, my struggles, and my need for help. Asking for help is an act of courage. It requires us to be vulnerable, to admit that we don't have all the answers, to trust that others will be there for us. It goes against everything we're taught about being strong and independent. But the truth is, true strength lies in knowing when to ask for help. It took me a long time to realize that asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness but a sign of strength. It meant acknowledging my limitations, recognizing that I couldn't do this alone and being willing to accept support. Reaching out for help wasn't easy, but it was the best decision I ever made. It connected me with people who understood my pain, who offered guidance and support, and who helped me find my way back to the light. If you're struggling in silence, please know that you don't have to. There is no shame in asking for help. In fact, it's the bravest thing you can do. It's the first step towards healing, towards rediscovering your strength, and towards reclaiming your life. Walking into the therapist's office for the first time felt like stepping into the unknown. The room itself was calming, painted in soft, neutral tones. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating a vase filled with fresh flowers on the coffee table. Yet my heart pounded in my chest, a drumbeat of anxiety against my ribs. I remember sinking into the plush armchair, the silence amplifying the whirlwind of thoughts in my head. What was I supposed to say? How could I possibly articulate the tangled mess of emotions I carried inside? Would this stranger sitting across from me, with her kind eyes and gentle smile, truly understand the depths of my pain? As I began to speak, my voice trembled, each word a monumental effort. But as I shared my story, the weight on my chest began to lighten. My therapist listened with unwavering attention, her gaze steady and reassuring. She didn't interrupt or judge, she simply created a space for me to be heard, to be seen, to be understood. In that room, I wasn't just a diagnosis or a case study, I was a human being, worthy of compassion and care. With each session, the therapist's office transformed from a symbol of fear into a sanctuary of healing. It was the place where I began to dismantle the walls I had built around my heart and let the light back in. Therapy became a journey of self-discovery, a process of peeling back the layers of pain and uncovering the strength that lay beneath. It was like unpacking an old, heavy suitcase, one filled with memories both cherished and painful. Each session, we would carefully sift through the contents, examining the experiences that had shaped my life. We explored my childhood, uncovering the roots of my negative self-beliefs. We talked about my relationships, identifying patterns of behavior that were no longer serving me. We delved into my fears, bringing them out of the shadows and into the light of awareness. It wasn't always easy. There were tears, moments of frustration, and days when I felt like I was taking one step forward and two steps back. But my therapist never gave up on me. She held space for my pain, gently guiding me through the darkness with empathy and understanding. With her support, I began to understand that my thoughts and feelings, no matter how overwhelming, were valid. I learned that I wasn't broken or damaged. I was simply human, doing the best I could with the tools I had at the time. Therapy wasn't just about talking about my problems, it was about actively challenging the negative thoughts and beliefs that were keeping me stuck. My therapist introduced me to the power of cognitive behavioral therapy, a type of therapy that focuses on identifying and changing unhelpful thinking patterns. I learned to recognize my own negative self-talk, the critical inner voice that whispered lies about my worthlessness and my inability to overcome challenges. With my therapist's guidance, I began to challenge those thoughts, questioning their validity and replacing them with more balanced and realistic ones. It was like learning a new language, one that allowed me to reframe my experiences and see myself and my world in a new light. Instead of focusing on my perceived failures, I began to celebrate my accomplishments, no matter how small. Instead of dwelling on the negative, I started to cultivate gratitude for the good things in my life. It wasn't about denying the challenges I had faced or pretending that everything was perfect. It was about shifting my perspective, choosing to focus on hope instead of despair, and believing in my own ability to create a brighter future. Therapy empowered me to become the author of my own story. For so long, I had allowed my past experiences and negative beliefs to dictate my present and shape my future. But through therapy, I discovered that I had the power to rewrite the narrative, to create a new story filled with hope, healing, and resilience. It wasn't about erasing the past or pretending that the pain hadn't happened. It was about acknowledging the challenges I had faced, honoring the lessons I had learned, and choosing to move forward with strength and determination. Therapy gave me the tools to transform my pain into purpose. It allowed me to see my struggles not as weaknesses, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. It empowered me to step into my own power, to embrace my authentic self, and to create a life that was truly mine. It was a journey of self-discovery, of healing, and of ultimately finding freedom from the chains of depression. It was in the therapist's office, through the power of vulnerability, honesty, and self-compassion, that I began to reclaim my life and step into the light of a brighter future. Therapy had given me the tools and insights, but I knew that true healing required action. I needed to make lasting changes in my life, to establish new habits that would support my mental well-being. One of the most powerful tools I discovered was the power of routine. For so long, my days had felt chaotic, unpredictable, ruled by the whims of my depression. Creating a daily routine brought a sense of structure and stability to my life, a sense of control amidst the chaos. I started small, focusing on building healthy habits one at a time. I made sure to wake up and go to bed at the same time each day, regulating my sleep cycle and promoting restful sleep. I incorporated regular meal times into my schedule, nourishing my body with healthy foods that provided sustained energy throughout the day. Beyond the basics, I carved out time for activities that brought me joy and nurtured my soul. Whether it was reading a book, listening to music, or spending time in nature, I made sure to prioritize activities that filled my cup and brought a sense of peace to my day. The power of routine wasn't about rigidity or perfection. It was about creating a framework that supported my mental and emotional well-being. It was about establishing healthy habits that became second nature, providing a sense of stability and grounding in my life. While establishing a healthy routine provided a solid foundation, I knew I needed to address the negative thought patterns that had plagued me for so long. Therapy had introduced me to the concept of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and I was eager to put these techniques into practice in my daily life. CBT taught me that our thoughts have incredible power over our feelings and behaviors. I learned to identify my own negative thought patterns, those automatic negative thoughts that would creep into my mind and sabotage my progress. I started to pay attention to the stories I was telling myself, those self-critical narratives that kept me feeling trapped and defeated. With practice, I became more adept at catching those negative thoughts before they could take root. I would challenge their validity, questioning their evidence and reframing them in a more balanced and realistic light. Instead of letting my thoughts control me, I learned to control my thoughts. It was a constant process, a daily battle against the ingrained negativity that had become so familiar. But with each passing day, I felt myself becoming stronger, more resilient, more capable of choosing positive, empowering thoughts over those that sought to drag me down. Exercise became an integral part of my recovery, not for a certain physique but for the invigorating rush of energy. Yoga combined movement, breathwork, and mindfulness, calming my mind and easing tension. Exercise became stress relief, a way to channel energy and release emotions. Moving my body became an act of self-love, honoring the vessel that carried me through life. True healing required nurturing my inner world, fostering self-compassion and finding peace within. Mindfulness grounded me in the present, quieting my mind. Journaling became an outlet for self-expression and emotional processing. It was about creating space for stillness, self-reflection, and cultivating self-compassion. Depression isolated me, building walls of shame and secrecy. Opening up to trusted friends and family revealed the profound impact of human connection. Breaking free from depression meant rediscovering the power of human connection and shared experiences. Opening up about my struggles brought an outpouring of support. Support groups provided a safe space where I found my tribe, people who truly understood. Finding my tribe was a turning point, reminding me of the power of human connection. In support groups, I discovered the healing power of shared stories. Sharing my story released the burden of secrecy and embraced the healing power of vulnerability. It created space for others to share, fostering a ripple effect of healing and connection. Embracing community meant embracing vulnerability and true connection. Shared vulnerability crumbled walls of isolation, making me feel seen and understood. It taught me the profound power of human connection and the importance of showing up with compassion. My pain became a source of strength and a pathway to purpose. Connecting with others showed me my experiences could serve a greater purpose. Embracing my story helped me develop empathy, compassion, and a deep understanding of the human experience. Turning pain into power required vulnerability and courage. Sharing my story openly created space for others to heal. It was about transforming my wounds into wisdom and my pain into purpose. I used my voice to advocate for change and break down the stigma surrounding mental health. I became involved in awareness campaigns, sharing my story to normalize conversations about mental health. Speaking my truth aimed to create a more compassionate and understanding world. Finding purpose in my pain was about living authentically and making a positive impact. It meant prioritizing mental well-being, setting boundaries, and nurturing relationships. It was an ongoing journey of growth, healing, and self-discovery, living each day with intention and gratitude. This journey, this fight to break free from depression and find happiness, it's ongoing. Some days are brighter than others. Some days the darkness still whispers. But even in those moments, I remember how far I've come. I remember the strength I found within myself, the love that lifted me up, and the hope that guided me back to the light. If you're struggling right now, please know this: you are not alone. You are not broken. And healing is possible. It takes courage to reach out, to ask for help, to take that first step towards a brighter future. But you don't have to do it alone. There is no shame in seeking help. There is no shame in admitting you need support. In fact, it's the bravest thing you can do. It's a sign of strength, not weakness, to acknowledge your struggles and reach out for a lifeline. Your story doesn't end here. Your journey isn't over. There is still so much beauty, so much love, so much joy waiting for you. Take a deep breath, find your strength, and reach out. There are people who care, people who want to help, and people who believe in you. This conversation, this journey towards mental well-being, it doesn't end with this video. It's a movement, a wave of change, a commitment to breaking down stigma and creating a world where everyone feels supported and empowered to prioritize their mental health. If this video resonated with you, if my story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. You never know who might be struggling in silence, who might be inspired by your courage to share, who might find hope in knowing they're not alone. Join our community, a space where we can continue this conversation, share our stories, offer support, and inspire one another on our journeys towards healing and wholeness. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going. Remember, you are stronger than you think, more resilient than you know, and capable of creating a life filled with joy, purpose, and meaning. Keep believing, keep fighting, and never ever give up hope.